Welcome to week 7 of our exploration into deviance, crime, and social control. As we unravel societal norms and deviant behavior, we'll confront a central question. That question being, why do people engage in deviant behavior? What is deviance? Deviance refers to any behavior, belief, or condition that deviates from societal norms or expectations. It allows the establishment of what is considered the norm or acceptable behavior within a particular context. The world is very diverse and has various cultural values, norms, and ideologies that shape the perspectives of what people consider acceptable and what is defined as deviant. What one culture may consider deviant may be perfectly acceptable or even celebrated in another culture. For example, nonconformity represents deviance in East Asian cultures, but uniqueness in Western cultures. An example of deviance was evident throughout the American Civil Rights Movement. Rosa Parks displayed courage as she refused to give up her seat on the Montgomery bus in 1955. Throughout that time, her refusal was an act of civil disobedience and as well as deviance. However, this moment in history highlights the resistance and pursuit of justice. Let's take the example of casually swearing or using informal language. It's often considered acceptable among friends or in a relaxed social setting. However, it is considered deviant and inappropriate in a formal or professional context, such as a business meeting, a job interview, or a religious ceremony. The acceptability of language may vary based on social context. Being respectful is normative in many countries, including the United States. However, people deviate from it quite frequently. The use of inappropriate language and behavior is surprisingly common in public interactions. In a study with 500 undergraduate students, 25% reported publicly flatulating and 27% reported publicly swearing. Informal deviance occurs with regularity and is quite common. Examples of this are gossiping about others, passing gas in public, speaking loudly, and chewing with your mouth open. Another study has shown that people frequently fail to show up for events that they have RSVP'd for. On the other hand, 16.5% of patients from a study with 5,604 medical appointments did not show up. Being a no-show is considered deviant because it goes against societal norms, particularly in contexts where attendance is crucial. In an informal deviance scale study, results found that 89% of people reported interrupting someone within the past 30 days. 80% reported publicly flatulating, 68% smelled bad, 58% talked louder than they should have, and 41% reported not washing their hands after using the washroom. Generally, engaging in deviant behavior can lead to unfavorable and negative responses, such as disapproving glances, judgment, and gossip. These negative responses are forms of external social control, and specifically a negative sanction, which are social reactions to deviance. In contrast, positive sanctions are affirmative and agreeable reactions that occur when people conform to societal norms. Positive and negative sanctions, both formal and informal, exist everywhere. For example, being promoted at work, being fined, getting smiled at, and being insulted. Formal deviance includes criminally violating rules and law that ultimately results in being subjected to legal consequences through formal sanctions. Examples of this are murder, vandalism, and burglary. On the other hand, informal deviance violates social norms, which are considered the rules and standards understood by society that are not criminal. Remember that all crime is deviant, but not all deviance is criminal. What exactly causes people to engage in deviant behavior? It's important to reiterate that deviance can vary based on the social and cultural context. However, some studies have seen a pattern as to why people are deviant. Firstly, every person holds their own unique and individual motivations for deviance. Peer pressure, pursuit of immediate gratification, or economic necessity are all factors that have been shown to lead to deviance. The social environment someone resides in is very important when indicating deviance. This includes friends and family that are likely influential in the enactment of deviant behavior. When looking at adolescents, the pressure experienced to fit in with their peers in college and their deviant decisions can be accounted for by popularity. Acker's social learning approach helps explain that deviant behavior is due to a person associating with others that model and reinforce that same behavior. Studies have shown that this reinforcement and modeling has led to acts of crime. So generally being in a social environment with people doing deviant things has quite the influence on whether someone will do them as well. When looking at criminal behavior, it may be closely linked to a general tendency to be deviant overall. Other study findings have concluded that curiosity might be another reason behind why people engage in crime and deviant behavior beyond their own self-control. Studies have shown that curiosity has been overlooked when going through the crime and deviance decision-making process. Researchers argue that although self-control acts as a restraint, curiosity serves as a motivator for involvement in crime and deviance. Now, let's investigate more recent research on the COVID-19 pandemic. The social lives, routines, and relationships of people had completely changed. Social interaction was reduced and, in some cases, completely avoided. Schools and work were remote, as well as businesses closing early and even shutting down. The lack of social interaction and contact likely affected those that engage in criminal and deviant acts, including physical fights and DUI motor vehicle accidents. Along with the lack of social interaction, people reported increased stress and negative emotions. People had a low ability to cope with these emotions, making it very possible that COVID-19 has both directly and indirectly caused deviance and crime. Looking into Robert Agnew's general strain theory, it explains how stressful experiences may lead to things such as crime and violence. The three categories of strain identified by Agnew are failure to achieve positively valued goals, such as the inability to get a job or education, presentation of negative stimuli, so, for example, experiencing undesirable events such as abuse, and finally, the removal of positive stimuli, which can be, for instance, losing a friend or family member. These strains and stressors may turn into strong negative emotions such as anger and sadness, as well as poor mental health. Various coping mechanisms such as emotional, cognitive, and behavioral are used when people experience strain. As a result, these coping strategies lead to deviant behavior to remove the strain. Another theory by Lawrence E. Cohen and Marcus Felsen, called the routine activities theory, also provides an explanation of changes in crime following the pandemic. It argued that deviant and criminal behavior happens when there is an integration of 1. A motivated offender, 2. A suitable target such as a person or property that is a good fit for the offender, and 3. The absence of guardianship that can't witness the criminal events. So police, school officers, and regular people. The COVID-19 pandemic has also negatively impacted racial and ethnic minorities who are much more vulnerable to stressors like prejudice and discrimination. There was a high risk for violence and deviance during and after the pandemic. In general, this perceived injustice displays a lack of fairness in the legal or social system that can reduce the effectiveness of sanctions. I have two final questions I want you to really think about. Firstly, reflect on a time when you engaged in an act of deviance and encountered informal sanctions. What was the deviant behavior and how did those around you respond? How did this experience shape your understanding of societal norms and the consequences of deviating from them? And secondly, beyond the general hardships such as work, school, mental health, and personal relationships, consider the bigger societal impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. What factors from a pandemic like COVID-19 might contribute to deviance and crime? Thank you so much.